Hi, I'm very thrilled to be here with one of my favourite people in the business world, Paul Grant. You're the guy who actually understands money and how it works. You're from the funding game.
That's right.
And you named it the funding game, I gather, because you really need to understand how the funding world works in order to succeed in business. So just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background and how you found yourself in this world of helping people to understand and raise funding for their business.
Okay, well, I've come from an entrepreneurial background rather than a finance background, so I've had business myself in the past and I've helped a lot of other businesses. I've been non-executive businesses, and somehow I found myself being, to cut a long story short, running an angel network. Had a couple of thousand angels there that were basically sourcing deals. Basically what I did is provided or found good quality business deals for them that are acceptable and credible for them to make investments. So I've seen a lot of business plans over my time.
Great. So there's a number of things there that I'm really keen to delve into, especially for those people who are quite new to business and funding and finance, and some of these even terms that can sometimes be daunting if people don't know initially. Yeah. So you said you had an entrepreneurial background. So does that mean were your family entrepreneurs, or did you just were the kind of person that you just didn't want to work for others? You just wanted to do your own thing. I mean, when you say you had an entrepreneurial background, how did that manifest itself?
Actually, I come thinking, like, yeah, my father was a bit of an entrepreneur, quite an unconventional upbringing, I suppose. My father was actually like an antiques dealer and such, but he was very entrepreneurial. I remember when he came back, we were living in Spain for a while. We were travelling around quite a bit, and we came back from Spain. I must have been about 11 years old, and we actually lived in a caravan to start with. And his very first thing when he got back to England was actually to borrow some money off the bank. I remember it was £1,000 to basically start up his antique business again, which he had before. And somehow in those days it was it was more possible to get a bank loan. And he got a bank loan of £1,000 on one meeting with no business plan, nothing.
Wow.
He gave him that money almost instantly into his account, and he withdrew the £1,000, brought it back to his the caravan and laid it around the caravan floor and rolled around in it. So as you can, I had quite an unconventional upbringing.
Well, this is great. Well, this is great because you know, I can understand why you're the money man then. If you know the caravan that's rolling around in the money. But
I've always had the bug to start my own business. Always, so, but I didn't jump into it straight away. I did do a little bit of the corporate thing, which I really did not like or whatsoever. Completely restricting. I just felt I didn't fit doing it. I was an actor for a while. That was a bit more liberating. But even
I didn't know that, and I used to be a singer.
I was for about 4 or 5 years. Yeah. But that has its own.
You're struggling.
That has its own restrictions. I managed to pay the rent, which is a big achievement. So I did lots of stuff, and then I thought I'd better grow up, and I started getting into sales. I got sales and marketing, got various jobs, and then so I got a kind of corporate job, but I was bored, rigid with it. But in the meantime, I was always looking at different business ideas, what I could start, what I couldn't, and I kept on trying to put it off, like a lot of people do, trying to find that perfect idea. In the end, I found an idea, and I had a business partner, and we just basically got it going with some business, a bank loan, a little bit of a bank loans, some little bit of kind of help from family and friends. In essence, like a couple of angels.
We'll talk a bit about angels. For those people who don't know about angels, what is an angel? An angel was somebody who's been there, done it, somebody who's run a business and they've got spare cash and they like to invest in other businesses because they, hopefully it might give them a little bit of a rule, but they genuinely like the idea of supporting other businesses, and it might give them a return. Is that basically?
That's pretty much it. Broadly speaking, there's two types of angels, the amateur angels and the professional angels. Amateur angels is pretty much as you described. They've got a bit of money and they just want to sort of play around with it really and try and do some good and maybe have a bit of fun, maybe kind of revisit their early entrepreneurial years and get that buzz and excitement that they got, you get in the early days and went on launch and startup. And you get those, but they're not, they kind of hope they get some return out of it at some time. And those ones typically, unfortunately, do not make much money as angel investors. Only about a third of angels, probably even less than that, make money as an angel investor. The professionals, they go about in a bit more business-like approach. They're still going for almost the same motivations, but they have almost a kind of quite methodical approach. They'll have filtered people that filter deals to them, that they would come from trusted sources, so it saves time, wading through thousands of business plans. And then they have their own criteria that they go through. For example, they only invest in software projects or only invest in retail projects.
So it might be where they have
something
their expertise.
they know, something they can introduce their contacts, use their experience, and basically help that company get there a lot quicker than they would have otherwise.
Right. So what you're saying already is gold dust. Because I think one of the things I like about your workshops, and we'll come on to that in a while, is that you're really passionate about kind of shining a light on actually of understanding how business and business investment actually works, and how the game of finance actually works. So you actually understand what all the different players in that field do, how they work, what they're looking for, so that you can actually understand it before going into it. Because I guess most entrepreneurs have got no idea from the outside.
Yeah.
So I think there's all of that kind of stuff that I'm really keen to kind of explore. And I guess particularly in this age where there's so much TV and so much stuff around entrepreneurs, and we watch these TV shows and people go in and they pitch their ideas, and people have to like them, and okay, that's great entertainment, but it's not always the reality of funding. So I'm keen to talk about that. But then going back to your fascinating story then, so your father was entrepreneurial, managed to just go in there, persuade them to get the money. You then, after having tried jobs, various things, you had this entrepreneurial bug. You set up a particular business with yourself and a business partner. Managed to get a little bit of money from the bank. Well done. And then that's a little bit of investment. What was the nature of the business, of that business idea? And tell us a little bit about the other things that you did as an entrepreneur, because I think they'll really resonate with those people who have that bug in them. Who are watching this.
Yeah. Okay, well, that was probably I had a little bit of a consultancy business, so I did a bit of consulting work before that, but I don't really regard that as almost a proper business as such, but it was a business and I ran it, but it's basically trying to keep it's basically helped me kind of separate from the corporate world in effect, and then I started that business, and what it was is basically, we used to buy food off restaurants and resell it to people at their homes and offices. And it was just hot food within the hour. It can be cold food too, but instead it's convenience and quality. So rather than just some greasy like Chinese, it was actually came from like maybe their favourite Chinese in that particular area. So it was not an easy business. It was quite complicated in trying to get like, for example, 100 meals delivered in one night within the same 2 hours. From like maybe you got up to 100 different restaurants, but it went through like a lot of time and hard work. Over 7 years, we managed to kind of work out the system, and then when I finally managed to exit that one, and I got involved. Basically, then I started helping other people start their own businesses.
So why did you do that? Why? Because it's one thing being entrepreneurial and being able to do that and having that, and there's another thing wanting to help people. And one of the reasons I was keen to interview you, and I meet all sorts of people, but it struck me straight away that you genuinely are passionate about helping people and to help people to understand the money side of business and the investment side of business and the raising finance side of business, and you managed to kind of simplify it. So what was it that made you kind of think, actually I want to help other people in business? Because that's very often not an entrepreneurial drive, is it? Because it's me, here's what I'm doing, I'm going to change the world my way, or I'm going to do whatever I'm doing. So where did that come from? And
well, to be honest, I've always had that kind of idea in the back of my head. Even when I had my own business, I was in the thick of things. I just always wanted to think, try and look at the ways that can help other people simplify it and take some of the pain out of the process. So when I then was working in the Angel Network, the reason why I wanted to expose myself to loads of different businesses, because I was just fascinated by business and different kind of and entrepreneurs as such. The idea of creating something from nothing and bringing it into the world, and people are using it, and you're generating. It could be maybe a product that saves people time, saves energy, whatever it could be. You're adding value, being creative, and adding something to the world. And it's just that kind of excitement, that kind of feeling. I wanted to maybe experience it through others in a way, and help others get there with their own ideas. So when I worked at the Angel Network, obviously I saw. And
how did that come about? Because you'd had some exposure to angels before when you with your first business, but then this Angel Network, because so many people watching this, they'd love to find these people. So how did you find these people, and where do they hang out? I mean, how did you find these people, or tell us a little bit about that?
Well, I just started going. I was interested, first of all, to actually VCs, and I thought, what
so that's venture capital.
Venture capital.
And for those people who don't know what the difference between angel and venture capital, just spell that out.
Yeah, venture capital is basically deal with other people's money, like typically pension funds, much larger sums of anywhere from, they have a fund maybe of like £500 million, for example, up to maybe several billion. So it's a big game. But as I kind of researched it, the VCs are to me, it wasn't as exciting working with a VC company. They've got their own way of looking at the world, and often it does not favour the entrepreneur.
And very often, just to finance it before we go back to that, is that because with venture capitalists, is it very often that's effectively a business? It sounds though that's almost a business. I mean, obviously there's a big business aspect for an angel, but that's almost like a business. Part of the business being put aside for that, and so very often they're going to be looking at it very much from their lens of perhaps businesses that they're wanting to develop as part of their whole business portfolio. It sounds as
that's right. They've got a different set of drivers altogether. With the angels, they'll just like hang around, wait for a good deal, and invest in, hope to get some money back. With a VC, they'll have a pot of money. They've got to basically invest that pot of money and get a larger pot of money back within a 10-year period.
Right.
They've got a huge pressure. They've got an average returns of about 20% a year to their investors. And if they all do well, then they owe nice big fat commissions, and they get another fund, maybe even bigger fund.
Right.
But if they don't do well, obviously it's not good for anyone, not for them. But they're under like that particular time pressure, so they've got to really exit businesses, basically. Sell the businesses. It could be float them on stock market or do a trade sales, typically within about 3 to 5 years.
Right. So it's very focused, and I can again see this thing about this game of funding, the funding game emerged. So you were saying there that then you became fascinated. You'd always had this interest in helping other entrepreneurs. You found that also quite exciting and seeing something that adds value to the world. What I'm wanting to do is perhaps come back in a moment and to continue this conversation and pick up on. Therefore, is that an apt point to come back and pick up on the birth of the funding game and the work that you do now, then, which is to help all sorts of entrepreneurs.
Yes, that's right.
All sorts of entrepreneurs in order to help them to understand the whole realm of finance. Become clear about what it is that they're doing and the different ways in which they can move forward. So is that a good point for us to kind of pause and then come back and zoom into that?
That's very good.
Okay, fantastic. I'm going to pause the camera right there.